if you have a clear plan, do you have a plan for a two-state solution in Israel? And if so, what are the details and how can the U.S. help mediate?
I do have a plan. I'm going to the Council of Foreign Relations to speak about it on September 10th. Some people don't like it, that I'm leading the letter following France, following Canada, following Australia, following the United Kingdom, following 147 countries to finally recognize a Palestinian state. But the reality is, that calls for a demilitarized Palestinian state with no Hamas, which recognizes the state of Israel. It is long overdue. Why should the United States be one of the only countries that doesn't recognize Palestine? And you say, why now? Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, and Netanyahu are trying to eliminate any possibility of a Palestinian state. They're expanding the settlements in the West Bank. They are pushing out the Gaza population. They say this. Ben-Gvir says this. And you expect the United States and France and UK and Canada to just say, okay? We need to get people on this letter to call for the recognition of a Palestinian state. Now, here's the hope, in my view, and what makes it different for when President Clinton tried with the Camp David Accord, and what makes it different from when President Obama was there. For the first time, you have the Arab League of 22 nations saying, we recognize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish democratic homeland. That is a big difference. That never used to be the case. We have 22 Arab countries who want to see a two-state solution. These Arab countries have also said no Hamas, that there should be no Hamas. You're not going to bomb Hamas out of existence. I supported Israel's right to get the people who committed the atrocities of October 7th. But we've gone on for 2 years. 63,000 people are killed. That was achieved months into the war. Now you have a situation where the only way you're going to get Hamas to leave is to get the help of these 22 Arab states and to have an election in Palestine with the United States involvement. I call it a 23-state solution that actually gets a Palestinian government that's going to be disarmed and recognize the state of Israel. It requires diplomacy. It requires statesmanship. It requires the type of work of one of my favorite presidents, who I think has gotten a short shrift in American history, and that's Jimmy Carter. I had the honor of interning for President Carter when I was at 19 years old at the Carter Center with Jason Carter. Although I never thought that when I was running for Congress against a Democratic incumbent in 2016, that internship would have President Carter issue a statement of support for my candidacy. A few people who had President Carter's support. But after I won, I'm not going to go along and tell you all the anecdotes of meeting President Carter, but I will say one. I went to one of his church services, and he would give a sermon of church at church in Plains. And it still struck with me to this day. He said, you know, it's a great thing that we're a superpower. It's a great thing that we have the strongest economy in the world. It's a great thing that we have the strongest military in the world. But you know what I think, I'm quoting President Carter, paraphrasing him, you know what I think would really be a superpower? If people around the world came to the American president, came to America and said, how can you help us make peace? How can you be a statesman that helps us solve the world's problems? How can you leave a more just world? Statesmanship is hard. Saber rattling is easy. Diplomacy is hard. Threatening military force is easy. The work that President Carter did was hard. The work that President Trump is doing in sort of a show of force and bombing one day Iran is easy. We need the painstaking diplomatic work, like what President Carter did, to get that two-state solution. And we now have 22 Arab states who can be helpful in doing that, and to have Palestinian elections, and hopefully out of this incredible devastation, something more hopeful and positive can come in the Middle East.